hi, this is a guided meditation on how to feel a kick. Why would you want to feel a kick? Something that is emphasized over and over again by some of the greatest teachers, greatest fighters, Yod Muay, is feeling in technique. You have to be able to feel a technique in order to know whether or not you're doing it right or wrong. You don't want to wait for someone to tell you yes or no. So Chai Sasakun, who was an amazing Muay Thai fighter and went on to be WBC boxing champion, every time I train with him, he's always saying feeling, feeling, feeling. What you're training is the feeling of the technique. Also, Sagat Pet Yindi, who's scary as shit. Anytime you do a technique, before telling you yes or no, even though his excitement gives away whether he liked it or not, he asks you how feel. Because for you to know whether that technique was accurate or not, you have to feel whether that technique was accurate or not. But like any skill, like the technique itself, feeling is a technique. So this is how to feel a kick. So basically, you just want to start right out by not thinking about it. Don't try to do it correctly. It's the same thing of just someone tells you to kick and you kick. Like you hear the word and you say it kind of thing, right? So you just start out, throw the kick. So now, just the same way as if someone shoved a photo in front of you and then took it away a second later and they said, what was in that photo? You would have a gross perception of what was in that photo. Is it a portrait? Was there a cat in it? Was it a room? Was it space? General things. That's as wide as you need to be when you first observe the feeling of a technique. So, throwing that kick, what was on the paper? What image was that? How did I know it was a kick? I knew it was a kick because my foot came off the ground and I swung around to the side. This sounds silly, this sounds stupid, because you don't think about it. But when you start breaking apart the elements that make a kick, then you start to understand all the different feelings that go into making that a kick. So on my first swing around, I felt my weight transfer onto my foot as I was coming forward. This one lifted up, pretty relaxed, and as it came around, I felt my upper body kind of like swing along with it. None of that's judged. All of that is just letting me know that that was a kick. A lot of these how to feel something techniques are kind of the Vipassana of Muay Thai. What is Vipassana? Vipassana is a kind of meditation. It's a kind of meditation that I practice. In short, instead of taking the breath as object, which a lot of forms of meditation use, or trying to get to a state of Zen or kind of mindlessness, Vipassana takes the body and the mind as two objects, as separate objects, and you extract the self from them by just observing them all the time. You're just observing the body and observing the mind. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to still refer to my body and my mind, whereas the idea is to take the self out of it. It is the body and the mind kind of thing. So when you're practicing Vipassana, there are four gross, and that means big, like not detailed, positions. Lying, sitting, standing, or walking, right? This is where this comes into how to feel a technique or how to feel a kick. If I'm going to be observing standing, you would say standing rupa, the body is rup, standing rup. How do I know that rup is standing? I know because the pressure under my feet lets me know that my weight is in an upright position like this. I don't feel pressure on my butt, so I'm not sitting, and the pressure on my feet is not changing, so I'm not walking, and it's not on my back or any other kind of gross position, so I'm not lying down. So you can tell you have evidence that you're standing because of the sensations and the feelings that you have of standing. That's just a picture of how to take a snapshot of an overall image of evidence for how you know that Rup is standing. You're going to take those same ideas, the same thing I was saying about a photo coming in front of you and being taken away, and you take like a snapshot of what was on there, and then you can get more detailed every time you see that photo. Every time the photo comes across, you catch more details. That's fine. You don't have to get them on the first go. And the same evidence that you use in terms of the pressure under your feet lets you know this is standing Rupa. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to be like, am I standing well? Same thing with technique. The The technique doesn't have to be right. It doesn't have to be good. You just have to feel the elements of that technique first. So again, the kick. Just throw the kick. The photo is just sliding in front of you for a second. Look at it. It goes away. What was on it? You just throw the kick as you naturally would. And now what are the kind of things that I can observe from that that are a little bit more detailed than my weight went onto my foot and my foot came off the ground and so I know it was a kick. When I threw it, as I came off of it, the little snapshot picture that I took, I could tell as I landed on the end of it that my weight was not fully on my right foot. It was on parts of my right foot. So by paying attention to which parts of my foot that weight was, same way standing rupa, there's pressure on the feet, I could tell it was a little bit on the outside of the foot. I suspect that if the weight was more balanced, not fully flat, but more balanced to the middle of the foot, my overall balance upon landing off of that kick would be improved. Makes sense, right? Not judging it, but I suspect more balanced, symmetrical weight would lead to more balanced, symmetrical kick. So we try that. We don't obsess about it. We just think, okay, I want more symmetrical feeling on the standing foot as I land off of that kick. Kick again. Better balance already. So you can start to dissect each little piece, not obsessively, but the same way that a photo sliding across the table, oh, there's a cat in there. I didn't know there was a cat in there. The light is kind of nice. Look where the light's coming from. Like all these little details, you're not judging them. You're not judging the photo. It's not, is this a piece of art or not? Is this a correct photo or not? You're just taking in the elements of it. And you want to do this over and over and over on your technique. And because you're not focusing on whether it was good or not, you're not focusing on whether balance is good or not, you're just feeling it. You're feeling where the weight is on the foot. You're feeling whether there's tension in the arm or whether it's relaxed. You're feeling whether the leg is coming all the way around. You're just training and honing the technique of how to feel more and more and more each time you throw a technique. So paying attention to, how do I know that was a left kick? Because my weight went on my right foot. You're not judging it, but you know that was a left kick because the weight went on the right foot. So how would I know if I was throwing a right kick? My weight would go on my left foot. So then when you throw it, you pay attention to what the distribution of the weight was on the standing foot, what the distribution and shift of the weight was as you were coming forward. And then you can start to make small corrections. So for example, when I did that first kick and I felt like my weight went to the outside of my foot too much to be balanced the way I wanted. So let's try to make the balance more in the center of the foot, and that's going to balance the entire thing. Sometimes when I'm throwing a kick and I'm trying to bring weight onto that foot and it's just not working, you can make a different adjustment, which is, how about if I try stepping out this way? Because if I'm just stepping here, when I try to throw that kick, my weight has to go this way. It has to come to the outside of my foot. Whereas if I step a little bit this way, I can keep the weight flat on the foot. By stepping this way, I've found a way to feel weight all across the foot. And so that's a small correction you can make. That's a correction of feeling that will change the technique overall. It's not correct, right, good, any of those things. It's just feeling the differences between where does the weight go when I do this, where does the weight go when I go like that. So that's how you feel your way through a kick. And the more times you do it, and the more aware you become, and the more patterns you start to see of where the weight is going, whether you can control where that weight is going, what you can do to change where that weight is going, that's the way you feel your way through the technique. And then ultimately what Sagat is saying when he's saying how feel, because he's very excited, is ultimately you are going to get a feeling of that is the kick. That is the kick I'm trying to throw. That is the kick that has power. Instead of feeling things that are so broad, like, am I on one foot, therefore this is probably a kick, you get into feelings that are like, that felt powerful, that felt fast, that felt like someone couldn't stop it. And those are kind of more minute feelings that you get the more that you practice and hone being able to feel your way through a technique. So that is the Vipassana of Muay Thai in how to feel your way through a kick. and how to train feeling as a technique in Muay Thai.